Next up, as we've said, we are spending all this week talking with every one of the Democratic candidates seeking to replace Joe Kennedy. Later on tonight, we'll hear from tech entrepreneur Chris Zanetos. But first up, Jesse Mermell, whose former roles include communications director for Governor Deval Patrick, Brookline Select Board member, VP at Planned Parenthood of Massachusetts, and president of the nonprofit Alliance for Business Leadership. I spoke with her yesterday. Jesse, thank you for being here.
Hi, Adam. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Let me start by asking you the same question I'm asking everyone in this race. What is it that you believe sets you apart from the field?
So it's a crowded field and it's a talented field, but I think I stand out as the proven progressive in this race. The candidate who's spent 20 years working, as you just pointed out, on the front lines, already delivering results for the people of the 4th Congressional District, at Planned Parenthood, with Governor Patrick, on the front lines in municipal government in Brookline, and leading the state's progressive business organization. Adam, there are real differences in this race, and I think it's boiling down to a proven progressive like me or a former Republican operative whose values aren't in line with this district. And we're working hard over the next 8 days to make sure that voters see that clear choice. And we've built the strongest, most diverse grassroots coalition in this race. It's another reason we stand out. And we're going to flex that grassroots muscle between now and 8 p.m. on September 1st.
Just to be clear here, you're saying essentially this is a two-person race between you and Jake Auchincloss, who I know if he were here would offer a different description of himself than the one you just gave. But you're saying it's a two-person race.
Well, we're seeing in the polls, tied for first, and we're feeling it in the momentum.
All right. Look back, if you can, at your long resume, all the time you spent in public life in various capacities. I got to know you a little bit first when you were working in the Patrick administration, running communications. As you look back at everything you've done, what is the one achievement that you are proudest of today?
I'm incredibly proud that I was on the 8-person team that negotiated paid family and medical leave here in Massachusetts. It's the strongest paid leave law in the country. And I have to tell you, on day one of what turned into a 7-month-long process, those of us in the room didn't even agree on what the problem was. I mean, we felt so far apart, but we did the work and we built trust and cooperation and relationship and walked out of that process, again, with the strongest paid family and medical leave law in the country. Something that will tackle gender inequity and racial inequity and economic inequity. And when I think about a tool that I have in my toolkit to really help this district and this country lead a just and equitable and fair path out of the crisis we find ourselves in, something like paid leave that's good for public health, that's good for the economy, that's good for equity, feels like a real contribution that I can make in Washington. I'm incredibly proud to have been a leader on it here in Massachusetts, and I want to take those skills to Washington to fight for paid leave for the entire country.
Again, looking back at your career, is there a moment where, in retrospect, you feel like you made the wrong call, maybe took the wrong position, that, as you reconsider it now, is instructive in the approach you take to politics, a mistake that you made that you've learned from?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I'm a human being, so sure. I think about a call that I got in my early days as a select board member, and I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I don't think that I appreciated the significance of what I was doing. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill constituent service call, a gentleman who had a peddler's license. You know, the guys who sell a SpongeBob SquarePants balloon on a stick on Marathon Monday, walking up and down the marathon route. He was retired. He made a few $1,000s a year selling things like that at special events. And his license couldn't be renewed because he had a few outstanding parking tickets. And he called me looking for help. And honestly, I treated it like a task on my to-do list. I called the police chief. We made an arrangement. We, made sure this guy had an installment plan. No big deal. And I moved on to the next thing. And a few days later, that gentleman showed up at my house with, a $5 plant from Stop and Shop. And it dawned on me that what I just treated as a thing to take care of, right? Something to scratch off the list, was a really life-changing ask for this gentleman. And it changed my perspective about every call I received, about everything that was on my to-do list, and really opened my eyes to the impact that I could make as a public servant. So that's just a lesson that I'm so grateful I had earlier in my career and has stuck with me all these years later.
I want to run two quick questions by you that I'm running by everyone, and I have yet to get an answer, so maybe you will be the first here. If you couldn't vote for yourself in this race and had to cast a vote for one of the other candidates, who would you back?
Well, like I said, there are a lot of talented folks in this race, some people I consider friends, but I have to say, with all humility, I think that I'm the best candidate in this race to represent the 4th Congressional District. And actually, I'm going to the polls tomorrow to vote, and I am voting for myself.
Okay. All right. The streak continues. Let me ask you a similar question, and you may continue the streak here as well. You're running to replace a guy who is taking on an incumbent U.S. Senator. Do you have a favorite in the Ed Markey-Joe Kennedy race?
Focused on my own race. I'm going to keep your streak going, Adam. Focused on my own race and looking forward to working with whomever is representing Massachusetts in the Senate, along with Senator Warren.
All right. If that comes to pass, moving back to the scenario that you are focused on turning into a reality, who would you look forward to working closely with if you become a congressperson? One legislator who you'd really expect to partner with?
You know, I have strong relationships with the Massachusetts delegation, so I'm going to give a non-Massachusetts answer. Katie Porter is, I think, a remarkable legislator who is strong and tough and human and approachable. And I would be really excited to learn from her and to partner with her. Ayanna Pressley is a friend and an endorser. I've worked with Catherine Clark for years. But getting outside the Massachusetts bubble, I'm really impressed by Katie Porter.
And how about first piece of legislation you'd expect to file if you make it there?
Paid family and medical leave.
Paid family medical leave. One closing question for you, and if I cut you off, it's only because I learned that we're running out of time. I'm curious about what you think Congress should be doing, given the state of play, to use a term that maybe I shouldn't be using because it's a serious issue, around abortion access right now, where the Supreme Court is, where Congress is. What would you want to do legislatively to shore up what you see as an important set of rights for women?
Adam, it's a long list. I'm going to be try to be fast. One, we have to codify Roe in federal law. We have to repeal Hyde. We have to protect Title X family planning money. We have to make sure no federal money goes to so-called crisis pregnancy centers. By the way, 3 of these are in the 4th Congressional District. This isn't some red state issue that doesn't impact here. They are literally in the 4th Congressional District, detrimentally impacting the health care of people I'm seeking to represent. And we have to repeal the global gag rule and make sure that there's comprehensive, medically accurate, age-appropriate sexual education available in our public schools. It's a long list. It's a serious issue, and it's in real jeopardy across the country.
All right. Jessie Mermell, we got to leave it there. Thank you, and good luck in the last week of the campaign.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Stay safe.